welcome to my overview of the February Offensive 17 bolt action tournament that we went to about a week and a half ago now. It was at Black Dragon Miniatures, in Hinckley. A great little gaming shop that you can see up there. It's got room for quite a few tables and it's well stocked with lots of different gaming systems. First time I'd been there, and I would certainly recommend anybody in the area popping into the store. It was really well stocked and it's got a lot of nice stuff there. So that was where we were for the day. It was 3 games over the day, and this is a little overview of how it went and how I got on. So I'll go through my army list again. It's the same one that I had in the previous practice game, and you can check it out there in more detail. And also we'll get round to Colin's because he was there as well, and we'll see what he has. So I'll go through my army list just in brief. So as before, I've got a rifle platoon and it's late German. I've got 2 here sections, 8 men, NCO with a submachine gun and 1 light machine gun in both units. I've got 2 Fallschirmjäger sections. One is 8 men. No, sorry, both 9 men squads. One has 2 LMGs, the other has 1, but they've both got 3 assault. The 42, more or less assault rifle type thing for the Fallschirmjägers. I've got the Panzer IV-G, which gives tank fear, a regular mortar, a medic, a second lieutenant, and a sniper. I've got the 251 Hanomag with a medium machine gun, a Kubel wagon which is a transport, and the 231 8-rad which comes with the light auto cannon. That's what I had for the practice games. This is the one that I brought along to the tournament, so we'll see how it fared. So my first game was against Adi, and what he had was a Russian force, and this is the table that we're playing on. The trees are a forest, so that you couldn't see through it on either side, but you could see through it if you were in it. There are 3 big boulders in there which broke up line of sight. You've got the ruins which also cut line of sight through them, and that was the deployment zones. What we were playing was a form of elimination, really. You had object markers which you placed with your 3 most expensive non-single unit. So it would be the infantry sections. So mine, it was 1 Fallschirmjäger and 2 Fallschirmjäger and 1 here unit. And for the Russians, I think it was I'll have a quick look. I think it was 1 SMG team. And yeah, there we go. What he's got here, you can see the universal carriers. One of those had 2 anti-tank rifles in them. The other 2 had those Soviet guys who are in body armour. They worked really well. But you can see there he's got the 2 anti-tank rifles, a section of submachine guns, and I think that's another section of submachine guns. Infantry wise, 1 free unit of inexperienced. He's got a little tank there, and he's got a little armoured car, and a little scout unit I think in there. So that was the Soviet army. Quite a few dice for mine, you can see there, and 2 officers, so something a little tricky to go against. And scoring wise, it was you got 2 points for each eliminated marked unit. So that's what we were looking at. And there was also attrition, so if you did a lot of kills, you would get a certain number of points for the number of points that you had destroyed of the opponent. So that was it in the game and the setup, and we went into turn 1. Adi's tactic was to put his expensive units, the ones which I had to kill, around the back end of the forest to keep them safe. I made a slight mistake with one of mine and put a Fallschirmjäger unit right up front towards the forest base, My Panzer 4, I stuck in the middle to give as much line of sight to all his troops as possible. And I was quite pleased that with the Panzer 4, he did fail quite a few Tiger checks, certainly in the middle of the table, to cause his units to actually falter and not be able to press forward the attack. The body armoured submachine gun guys came through the forest and were quite a real threat to my Fallschirmjägers and took out one of my most expensive units. I was able to do likewise on his by getting my tank and a couple of infantry here unit and the second lieutenant round the flank on the left to take out his big machine gun team. And that worked quite well. I was able to take 1-for-1 in that. At the end of the game, it was a draw, and attrition. It gave me 1 attrition point, so I scored 2 for the draw and an attrition point. So it was a reasonable start. I thought I was going to go down a little bit more heavy with it, but things moved my way really in parts of the game, and I was able to get enough to take a draw out and to save some of my units from being destroyed. So a draw for the first one, I'll take that. Second game was against a guy called Tim, very nice chap, who was running an LRDG list with lots of trucks and lots of jeeps running around all over the place. The scenario in this one was D3+4 objective markers, which were placed out on the table. You can see some of those in this this picture. What Tim decided to do was put his objective markers out into the open. I tended to put mine in cover, which I would hopefully get a unit onto and be able to put them into down and to keep them safe. Relatively safe, shall we say. And I'll go through a little picture of what Tim had, and you can see how difficult that was going to be for me to hold some of the objectives out in the open. Obviously, points wise, the most objectives you hold, you won the game. So, as you can see, Tim had a very mobile force, but with only 2 infantry sections. But you can see there he's got a vast number of trucks. He's got the LRDG jeeps. So there were 2 anti-tank trucks at least within there. Some anti-aircraft trucks within there as well, which had HE firing guns. So an awful lot of firepower that could be put out through these vehicles. And again, all of them had recce, which normally doesn't have much of an effect, but when they all have recce, it does make it a little more tricky to start shooting them. But we started off the game, and we had a good go at trying to kill some of these people, and also being able to take the objectives. And it was a hard game. I'll go through what happened in the next slides. Well, once again in this game, I put the Panzer 4G out into the open. There wasn't vast amounts of anti-tank weapons to deal with me. He had 2 light anti-tank guns on portee, but what I was looking at was hopefully if they came too close to me, then I could actually try and get a couple of rifle shots on them because they were open-topped with pins on them, or the actual Panzer 4 might be able to give them a good shooting. My Fallschirmjäger squads all have 2 Panzerfausts each, and I was hoping that anything came into range I might be able to advance out and to give them a blast with those. Tim was pretty clever for his strategy in this. He moved up a truck with the section in onto one of the objectives in his area, and also moved a truck up to within closing range on another one in his back area. I held 2 of mine in the first turn and kept hold of those. Then I tried to get a objective that was in front of the big house with the blue shutters that you can see there, and also another left-hand token on this on the left-hand side of the board. Unfortunately, whenever I moved a unit out to try and take them, I just got decimated by the sheer amount of firepower from the trucks. Even though I took out quite a few of them, there was still an awful lot of firepower, and they just withered the troops down. Even though they were down, they still took a hammering with it. So again, a draw at the end of this game, and not. Yeah, we did get some attrition points on this, so it took me up to 9 points for the tournament so far, which wasn't too bad. 2 draws. I was quite pleased with that, and I was hoping for a win in the one that we just played with Tim, but some clever strategy moves with his meant that he managed to get the draw out of it. So on to game 3. Game 3, and it was invasion, and I took this side of the table looking across. The objectives of the game was to get as many of your troops into the opposing player's deployment zone, or their half of the table really, and theirs was also to do likewise. So you've got to do a bit of protection to then be able to outscore. My opponent in this game was Colin. We just in the end game came up against one another. So would Colin be able to get revenge for the practice game the week before? We'll have to see. But that was it. Invasion. Again, 3 scenarios which we played, and each of them was really good, I thought. So we'd like to play those ones again. So let's go into the battle. Well, first off, we're going to have a look through Colin's army list, which is much the same as it was for the practice game. So Colin's list was the same as the practice game. So you can see there it took the 2 rifle platoons with the tank destroyer and the IGO light howitzer, 2 of the Type 92 tankettes with heavy machine gun and medium machine gun on them, and 2 grenadier units with 2 knee mortars in each, and then 2 infantry sections, the light anti-tank gun, 2 suicide guys, 2 officers, and a sniper. So same as it was before, and it proved quite a difficult game for me with this. Again, we'll have a look at the setup as we went through and how the game panned out. So the object of the game was to get as many units as possible into the opponent's half. So what I looked at was this position on the left, a bit of fortified with the river going through, and what it meant was I could get troops up to the edge of that river and I would be in scoring positions. So I was going to load the left hand side. I put 2 infantry sections, 1 Fallschirmjäger and 1 Heer unit on this right hand side behind the wooden barricade, and the mortar team behind this tree, and that gave me the right hand flank. I did leave it a bit too weak, really. I kept off the Hanomag 251 with the unit of Heer in it, and the officer and the Kugelwagen I put on the board, and the medic was in the Hanomag as well. So what happened in the game? Well, the Panzer IV I put out in the open again, on this side of the river, on the left hand side of the river, but there was quite a good view through for most of Colin's Japanese side, and the Panzer IV did wreak havoc with failed leadership tests for Tiger Fear, and that meant that his infantry was stalled in going across that open ground. The section in the picture here, I was able to put loads of things up on this left hand side, but he got a good lucky shot on. You can see there on the Panzer IV just to the right there's a small infantry section, and they were going to be able to run through the gap made by the sniper team, which is just there by the dice in the middle. That was going to give me another unit into the scoring section. However, he shot them and it put a pin on them, and it failed their leadership test. I suppose in the end it was a bit of karma really for him, me failing a leadership test after the number of leadership tests he failed for Tiger Fear. When we added it all up, he had won by 1 unit, and that was the 1 unit that I think he had shot to stop with that failed leadership test. So he won by 1, and attrition-wise, we didn't cause enough to gain any attrition points. However, for the end of the tournament, it was a good move for Colin, getting his revenge from the practice game. So what actually meant was Colin finished on 14 points, and with the attrition points he had built up through the previous games, he actually came second in the tournament. I sort of finished mid-table with my 2 draws and a loss on 9 points. If I'd won with the 14 points, if I'd won this game, I would have got 14 points because it was 5 for a win. I think I might have come in second, but who knows. But a good result for Colin. A good day, a really fun day actually at the game store. As I say, I would recommend this game store again to anyone. Bit too far for us to travel. It was an hour and a half up the road to get any bits and pieces from it. But if you're in the area or close by to it, please pop into them and see what you can find. We'll be back there, I think, next year if they run another one, or if they run another one this year, we'll be there. I think it was a good time had by all. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. As again, please like or share, whichever. Take care.